Now we take the types of mobility. The social mobility is complex phenomenon. Primarily, it is essential to understand the place of individual and groups in the social hierarchy. Secondly, the process involved in the placing of individual and groups must also be considered. In this process, there are many types of social mobility. They are number one. Firstly, the horizontal and vertical mobility. Horizontal mobility refers to movement which does not bring about a change in the social position of the individual or group that has moved. It is a change in position without the change in status. For example, an engineer working in a factory may resign his job and join another factory as an engineer and may work more or less same capacity. And similarly, lecturer leaving a college and joining another college. These are the instances of the horizontal mobility. On the other hand, the vertical mobility, it refers to the movement of individual or movement of people and groups between positions of unequal status, and it involves the changes in class, occupation, or power. For example, the movement of people from poor class to middle class and from the lower position to lower position of opposition to ruling class, from lower position of opposition to ruling classes. And there are two types of vertical mobility. That is, they are the ascending mobility and descending mobility. They are also called upward mobility and downward mobility. In the open society, vertical mobility is unrestricted. Vertical mobility is unrestricted in open society. On the contrary, it is in a closed society such as caste, religion, the possibility of upward mobility are absent. Here, the individuals are given position by their birth only. And secondly, intergenerational mobility and intragenerational mobility. The measurement of mobility depends of dimension of time, or depends on dimension of time. So mobility may be intergenerational or intragenerational. Intergenerational mobility, it means to the mobility between generations, or mobility between different generations. It is traditionally measured by position of father and sons. For example, the son may go up or down in the social ladder by taking up an occupation which ranks or lower with that of his father. And differences between the parents and children in ambition, industriousness, etc., bring about intergenerational mobility. Intragenerational mobility is a movement within a generation. Within the generation, there are mobility, or intragenerational mobility takes place. It refers to changes in the occupations. Changes in the occupations held by people during their lifetime, or during their working time. And the and thirdly, the structural mobility and circulation mobility. The structural mobility is sometimes called forced mobility. It refers to changes in number of people in occupational categories and that result from changes in occupational structure itself. For example, the changed ratio of blue to white collar jobs, it could also arise because of differences in birth rates between levels of workers and migration. And circulation mobility, it refers to the movement that occurs as a result of opening up of opportunities in the system, and to those people who did not have such opportunities before, and the movement into elite position of people from non-elite origins, so that elites now come to be composed of different kinds of people from various origins is called the circulation of elites. And in the popular term it is called from the rags to riches. And thirdly, the individual mobility and group mobility. In the study of mobility, the examined are varied in nature. In the study of mobility, the examined are differences in nature, and one can study individual families and groups or even societies. And when the individual change jobs and acquire money and power, there is individual mobility. Less children and late marriage are some of the reasons for individual mobility. Individual mobility soon affects his family status will increase, which is a form of group mobility. Individual mobility and family mobility will influence group mobility. For example, in the process of Sanskritization, it is a group mobility, and these are the types of mobility. Okay, thank you.